it going, ladies and gentlemen? Alex here with Bravery Life and Health Consulting. I hope everyone's doing well. For today's video, I wanted to talk about the difference between letting go and quitting. This is something that I know for myself, I've struggled quite a bit with in the past. And throughout the years and time, I've been able to come up with a solution on how to differentiate the difference between letting go of something that maybe it's not good for you versus having that feeling of quitting, or when to just know that it's time to quit. So this is something I think that everyone struggles with. My girlfriend and I, we were talking about this the other day, and she thought it would be good for me to do a video on this. So here I am doing that. But basically, this can be applicable whether it's on your career, on your relationships, or just in life in general. I experienced various different things that encompass all of those subcategories, such as when I was in the military, in the Marines, I really got to tone into that difference between quitting and knowing when to let go of something that maybe I was pursuing that perhaps wasn't good for me. So yeah, I just want to take the time to just go over some of the techniques that I've learned and maybe some things for you to think about on how to differentiate the difference. First is understanding what it is that you're doing, right? So let's just go, for example, with a relationship. So, there's a lot of different types of commitments that you have in a relationship. There's the relationship, being in a relationship in itself, it's a commitment, of course, but you have girlfriend status, you have fiance, you have marriage, which is ultimately the ultimate commitment in as far as a formal societal form. But either way, it's a commitment, right? So let's just take that for an example. And I think there's that pressure of not quitting. There's that pressure of no matter what, you have to push through and you got to get through the challenges. And I agree with that to an extent. And that's why I'm using this one as an example, because I think that it really does depend on a few things, actually. One, I would say that it really depends on the type of relationship that you're in to begin with. And that's when, really sitting down and assessing the things come into play. Are you in a toxic relationship? Meaning, are you fighting all the time? And are you extremely unhappy with your partner? Is your partner not doing their part? And are you not doing your part? So that is a very toxic relationship. And if it has been going on for quite some time and communication is not something that's being practiced effectively and efficiently, then, that's when you have to really think about, like, is this something that's good for me? Can I really do anything here differently? So let's just pause there for a second, right? So if we think about that, if we let's just say that I'm in a toxic relationship, which I have in the past. I remember just pushing and saying, you know what, like, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep trying harder. I got to do this. I got to do that. And in my earlier stages of my relationship, I would also focus on my partner. And it became toxic because I was doing the things that I was doing for the wrong reasons. Meaning, I was doing it in expectance of my partner that she would do the same as well. And that led to a very toxic relationship, not only just in general, but also for myself. I felt like very exhausted. I felt very unpleased, very unhappy. And I came to realize that there were certain aspects of that person I was dating that it was just who they were. And I really needed to realize and come into terms that they were just maybe not the right person for me. And so it wasn't until I really gave it a fair try and I really exhausted all of my resources, everything, all my efforts on really trying to make this relationship work, that I came to terms that this was not the right relationship for me. So that is an example of something in which you need to sit down and assess the whole picture, the whole situation. Don't just take one argument, don't take one instance. Really sit down and look at the whole thing holistically and really ask yourself those questions. Is this something that is salvageable? Am I happy? And is this a small thing? Is this something that can be fixed? And when you put things into the balance, are you having more? Is the scale more up on good things, good quality about your relationship versus the things that perhaps could be better? So it's really important to really assess, right? And to do so in as much as possible in a non sentimental way. And what I mean by that is by just looking at the facts and not putting any emotions into it as much as possible, because then you can, if you start to use words where I think that this could be happening, or I think that maybe he or she feels this way, those are not facts. Those are just ideas that you have that are not facts until you can actually prove them to be facts. So those can really dilute your decision making, and it's really a dangerous way to make decisions in life, period. So I would recommend always sticking to the facts and looking at those, and from there you can sort of assess how those facts make you feel. Now let's talk about on an example of quitting. So when to quit, right? And not to quit. So let me give you an example of when not to quit. And that would be, let's say that I'm in a relationship and overall, it's amazing, right? Overall, it's communication's great, love is great, balance is great, support is great. Everything that I want is up here. Overall, it's just great. And there's just a few things, and when I say a few things, I literally mean just one or two things that come up now and then, and maybe when those things come up, maybe things get a little heated, maybe things get really emotional, and maybe intense, right? So if that's the case, you're gonna want to perhaps feel like quitting, and this is what the biggest difference is, right? Is doing the same thing and really analyzing at the situation and saying, okay, is this just something that we can work through together? Or is this something that, if I look at the scale of things, if I look at the facts, are there more negatives? Are there more hindering factors? Are there more harm facts about this relationship than good? And if the answer is no, then if overall the scale goes up and being more of a healthy relationship and communication is good and support and love and everything else, and it's just a few things, then that's when you really need to understand that perhaps the feeling of quitting that you have is at the moment, and that is an emotional reaction, not if it's something that you should just do because of one thing or a couple things that are challenging. And why is this important? Because the same thing can be applied in a job, the same thing can be applied in a business, the same thing can be applied in so many different things. And I found myself in those positions, as I mentioned before, when I was working in the civilian sectors, and when I was in marketing, working at Google, and even before then, as well as going to school, as well as being in the military, in the Marines. So I found that this equation can be applied to any critical decision that you want to make, in which maybe you're unsure whether you want to quit something or not, or is it right for me, or should I let it go, or is it something that I should just, it's just not good for me. So that is extremely important. And so I want to kind of bring it back to the not quitting again really quickly, because I think this is the one that most people have trouble with. I know that it can be very difficult when we are navigating a conversation with our feelings. And I'm not going to sit here and ask you to not do that, because that would be impossible. A, and B, also not very human, right? Like to do that. So it's also not healthy. But what I will ask you and invite you to try is that you take a moment. You take a moment when you feel that rush of feelings are coming, of overwhelming, of fear, of anger, of sadness, of whatever it is, that you break from the conversation that you're having at the moment, and you allow yourself the opportunity to go to a different space, whether that is in a different room, whether that is to go on a walk, and clear your mind and let those feelings go. Once you've done that, it is crucial and extremely important that you now assess the facts and bring yourself back to the reality of what is going on at the moment, and say, okay, I know I'm really upset, but why am I so upset about this? Really ask yourself that question. And I know it sounds bizarre, but you'd be surprised if you don't ask yourself those questions, and maybe you don't even know. I mean, maybe you have an idea, but you're not really digging deep into that reasoning of that anger or that emotion that's coming so strongly, that's making you want to quit. Typically, when people want to quit something, is because of a couple of different things. If it's an emotional thing, it's a reminder of past experiences they've had, or if it's a physical thing, they can't endure the pain or endure the friction or the pressure that is being put on the physical body. And emotionally, it's probably one of the most common ones, where we feel defeated, we feel embarrassed, we feel angry, or whatever emotion that we have typically stems from something from the past that we've experienced, in which our defense mechanism is showing up with these emotions. So it is important to really understand that difference and say, this is something that maybe I've experienced in the past. Does this mean that it is my reality now? So I really highly invite you to really try that out next time you're feeling like you want to quit, whether it's a job, whether it is at the gym, whether it is in a relationship, whatever it is. When you get that feeling of quitting, challenge it. Challenge it and understand the difference between, is this a situation where I need to quit or let go? Right? So maybe I don't need to quit. Maybe I need to adjust my attitude. Maybe I need to adjust or come to terms and understand that this is something that is different than what my brain is bringing up, and that what's bringing up these emotions is something from the past. So give that a try. I hope this is helpful. There's a lot more I can go into this, and which I'm going to be doing more videos on these specific topics in which I'm going to dive in even deeper into some of the things that really make a huge difference with people who have, including myself, who all of us have these past experiences, and we oftentimes show up with those past experiences in the now and the future when similar situations present themselves, but it's not always the same case. So thank you so much, everybody, for your support, for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more upcoming videos. Thank you.